Hi guys, welcome back to Flora Fun and Food. My name is Lauren and today I'm going to take you on a little experiment that I'm doing trying to figure out how to electroform things. My last video was how I set up my tank and I've already changed it because it just wasn't working the way I thought it would based on all my reading. So I've done more reading, but we still had kind of a fail. I'll show you what I did and what my plan is to fix it. But I'm going to keep trying and keep troubleshooting. You know, and I'll get it figured out eventually. So thanks for sticking with me while I try out a new hobby. So let's get started. Okay, so I dried these 2 pieces of my fern plant. I just put them in the microwave between 2 pieces of paper towel with a microwave safe dish on top, and I do it like 30 seconds at a time until they're totally dry. Organic materials have to be completely dry, and they also need to be kind of sealed. So we're going to spray these with a clear coat, but first I'm going to attach some bales or some jump rings to the tops of these. They will get a clear coat, so this copper will be coated, but we're going to paint it with graphite paint so it'll be conductive again and plate all at the same time. So I'm just going to take some wire bending pliers here and make some rings. So I just made a few layers here and I'm just going to cut through them on one side, and then I've got some rings and I can cut off the excess there. So now I'm going to place my jump rings that I just made onto my fern leaves, and then I'm going to take some super glue and just add a drop of it to our ring to attach it to our leaf. And I'm doing this on a glass cutting board that my husband and I use for crafts because super glue can be scraped off. So instead of just waiting for this to dry, I'm gonna actually take some baking soda and pour it over the super glue. It just cures it instantly. And then I'm just gonna brush off. Well, I broke one of the ferns. When I pushed down on it, I heard it crunch, so I kind of figured I did. So we will just go grab another one and redo the same process. Okay, I have a slightly smaller one this time, so we'll see if that makes a difference in the bath. But now I've got my jump rings attached, or my bales. Now I'm going to take the length of wire, cut it in 2, and then I'm going to suspend my leaves from these wires outside to spray them with a clear coat to seal them. Okay, I'm just gonna use this Krylon Tough Coat clear coat. So I'm just suspending my leaves and just shooting it with the clear coat, trying to get all sides. And now we'll take these back inside and hang them somewhere to dry. So I just hung them from a metal chopstick that I have in between 2 jars just to let them sit there and dry completely before we do our next step. Okay, while those dry, we're gonna make up our conductive paint, and all I'm using is India ink and graphite powder. You can use Mod Podge instead of ink to help seal organic items, but it can get kind of gloopy. You can also use acetone, which will evaporate away, but it's not quite as durable. So I'm gonna do the India ink method. So this whole bottle here is 1 fluid ounce. So I'm just gonna pour that into my jar. And then we need to do equal parts India ink to graphite powder. According to Google, 1 tablespoon is half a fluid ounce roughly. Since this is so small, I'm gonna have to use a half a teaspoon. So there's 3 teaspoons and a tablespoon. So I would need 12 of these to make 2 tablespoons to equal my 1 fluid ounce. So I'm gonna do 10 to start with just to make sure I don't get it too thick. So let me count. 1, 8. I'm gonna stop at 8 because I kind of had these overfilled a little bit. So I'm just gonna take the paintbrush that I'm gonna be using to paint things and just mix this. So I stopped at 8, so I may need some more, but like I said, I kind of overfilled my teaspoon, or my half teaspoon. I'm actually just gonna close this up very tightly and shake it. So that actually looks pretty thick. I don't think I want it any thicker, so I'm gonna stop right there and let's get to painting. I do want to stress that you have to use India ink, not acrylic ink, because India ink is derived from like metallic things, like iron. Acrylic ink is usually with plastic, so you have to have this because it's kind of conductive, right? Okay, so now I'm gonna very gently start painting my leaf. And again, I'm doing this on a glass cutting board just so that it's easier cleanup. But I do need to be delicate because, as you saw earlier, I snapped my leaves off and had to start over. So with this, you're wanting to get a very thin coat. You don't want to leave brush strokes. You don't want to gloop it on too bad. And you do need to make sure that you are covering every surface. Anything that is not coated in this graphite coating is not going to electroform. And I am going to paint the jump ring at the top as well. Since we clear coated this, it no longer has the exposed copper anymore. So we do need to make it conductive again. So you can see I have one side painted, so now we're going to flip it over and do the back. Okay, now I want to make sure I get the edges of all the leaves, just in case I missed that. I might need a more detailed, smaller brush to get into some of these little crevices here, but again, everything has to be covered in this graphite ink mixture to collect the copper. Okay, I'm gonna hang this back on my little drying rack here to dry. Okay, our pieces are dry, so I'm just gonna leave them on this copper wire. I know I clear coated it, but I just tested to see if it was conductive, and it is, so I don't think that clear coating really messed up the wire too bad. Okay, so now I'm gonna take my cathode out, and I'm gonna put my leaf right here. Okay, so all I did, it was out of frame when I filmed it, but I just attached my wires to my cathode. I just wrapped it another time just to make sure that it had, you know, a strong connection. And now we're going to put it back into our solution, making sure that none of this is touching this. Your cathode can't be touching your anode. If you can see, this one's kind of floating, but it's okay because it's still underneath all the liquid. So now I'm going to turn this on. My husband and I messed with the settings earlier. This was probably the most complicated part. So I'm going to now attach the negative side. The positive's already on my anode. The negative needs to go on my cathode. You can see the numbers jumped. So using these dials, you can kind of hone in on what you need. You have to calculate the surface area of your object and then multiply it by 2 if it's double-sided. Mine is about 6 inches of surface area, so you need roughly 0.1 amps for every inch of surface area. So we're close here. I mean, there's, you know, it's not an exact science, so I'm at about, you know, a little over 0.5. And then our volts need to stay between about 0.1 and 0.9. So this setting I'm gonna try. I think it's gonna work just fine. So now it's running, and all it is now is a waiting game. So I'm gonna check it in a couple of hours, give you an update, but it's probably gonna take over a day or so. So all we need to do is be patient. Okay, it has been 2 hours, so I am going to just pull this up to check on it. Oh my gosh! You can see it's starting to do some things. The little one, not so much. I wonder if I don't have a good connection on that one. Let me add another wire to that one. All right, we're gonna try that. I got a new wire on there, and then we will re-hook up our negative. And I do have my attic fan and all my windows open. You do need to do this in a ventilated area, so just be safe. Okay, this has been in there for about 9.5 hours. It's starting to grow little like excess nodes, so I'm gonna stop for the night and try to figure out my issue tomorrow. So I'm just gonna lay it on this tray for tonight and turn off my power supply and troubleshoot in the morning. Okay, so as you can see, I completely burnt my ferns, and this only took like 6 hours to look like this, and it should really be plating for like, I don't know, 24 hours. So those were an uber fail. I also had a ton of buildup and corrosion and just burnt stuff on my cathode, which I was trying to research and figure out what I did wrong. So what I think happened is I had way too much anode, so the coil of the wire around, compared to the small pieces I was trying to plate or electroform. So I switched that out. I tried, you know, cutting the wire down into just a very small piece, and as you can see, it kind of turned salmon colored as well. So I think I still was struggling. This is electrical wiring, so maybe it's a little bit different. I'm not sure if it has phosphorus in it. I read if you get copper piping, that's for like refrigerator stuff. It has phosphorus in it, which helps kind of make it leach out a little bit slower. So my husband cut me about a 5-inch piece of really thick pipe. Again, this still may not be right, but I'm trying and playing and seeing what works. But only about half of it is down in the water. And I switched from ferns to this dried oak leaf hydrangea and painted them just like I did with the ferns. I also maybe had my power supply not set right. Everything I was reading said about 0.1 amps for each inch of surface area on your object. But then I read another blog that was really mathy, and it said that would be the maximum. And so there's a min, a middle, and a max, or min, median, max. I don't know what it is, but I ended up doing the minimum. So for this, I did it at about 0.02, and it's been in here for about, I really should have gloves on, but I want to show you. So this has been in there for about 20 hours now, and it definitely has, you know, a plating of copper, but it's kind of salmon pink, which that could mean that my solution's pH balance is off. I may not have enough acid. I don't really know what's going on, so we're just gonna keep troubleshooting. I may end up just having to buy pre-made solution until I'm comfortable with it. As you can see, I definitely made more solution because this one was so oversaturated with copper. Like you can see there's a whole ring of copper kind of dust at the bottom, that I made a fresh batch and put it in the smaller container with a different anode. So I'm just trying different things. If you electroform things and you have any tips or tricks for me, or places to go get information, or even supplies, let me know. But I'm gonna keep playing with it. I am gonna go ahead and take this out, and I'm gonna go neutralize it in some baking soda and water so that the chemical, the blue chemical on it, is not harmful anymore. So let me go do that real quick. And this is what we have as our kind of first experiment. It's definitely very salmon pink colored. I read you can use a brass wire brush to kind of polish it up. I'm afraid this is gonna break, but we'll try it. Oh, that's helping actually. I'll do half and show you. So you can tell I did these top two with the brush and I left these, so it definitely polished off some of that pink color. I'm still not super pleased with it, but as I learn more, I'm hoping it'll get easier. And like I said, I may just need to not make my own solution starting out and go from there, but this is polishing up pretty nice. Oh yeah, huge difference. So you can see the pink side and then the copper side. So that wire brush really did the trick. So I'm not too thrilled, but I'm not super bummed like I was the last couple of days. I got really frustrated. So I'll just keep playing around with this. I'm hoping to do some really fun stuff. So I'm gonna get some pH strips and check the pH of my solution. I think it's supposed to be like 2 or under. And I think mine is closer to like 3. I don't have the right pH strips, but I use some from my garden soil and it only goes to like 3.5, and it's pretty close to that color. So I'll get this figured out eventually, but it's just a learning process. I'm not giving up yet. I've been reading some really good like Facebook group forums and things like that. So there's a lot of help out there. You just have to kind of weed through it all. So I'm gonna polish this up and I'm gonna try maybe a bigger object. I think maybe I went too delicate, you know, to start out when I'm just learning. Maybe I need something like a broadleaf. But we'll just keep playing and see how it goes. But I'm hoping to do some more videos soon on like the progress and how it's going and what I've learned. But if you have any tips, tricks, solutions to my issues, please drop them in the comments. I really want this to work and do some fun jewelry making things with this. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and head over to my channel to subscribe for more content like this. And I hope to see you again very soon. Thanks guys. Bye.